Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Rundown. Today is Saturday, April 10th, 2021. This is episode 15. I know it's a little bit late. I'm actually recording this another time because the last time I recorded, I misspoke about 500 times, and I kept on commenting about how I misspoke. So hopefully we can limit that, and I can go to bed like I so desire. With that being said, this week's liturgy is Easter. By the time you're watching this, it's probably Divine Mercy Sunday, so you can kind of ignore that first day there. Now, it's going to be Easter weekdays the rest of this week, the third Sunday of Easter, next Sunday, optional memorial of St. Martin, a martyr, on this Tuesday. I invite you guys to watch or listen to the Returning to Tradition podcast. The first full episode will come out this Wednesday, featuring Austin Satrio. We talk about a couple things, including music within the Catholic Church. We talk about Catholic social life in the age of the pandemic, and basically the way that we can be our best selves, overcoming some challenges, and lots of really good content in there. I'm not just saying that because I produce it, but I'm saying that because I think that it's really good, and that's the whole point of the podcast is for people to hear that really good stuff. It's a little long. It's around 50 minutes, and I'm both of us, Austin and I, we're aiming for around 20 to 30 minutes, and then it ended up being 50. So oops, but whatever. Anyways, this podcast is going to be available on all the platforms, and it already is. The trailer's out now. Search Returning to Tradition, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, you name it. We got it. Just search us up. And we'll have a new guest each week. We have another guest next week talking about social media. This week in weather, severe tropical, and of course our two locations. There was a big outbreak on Friday. No tornadoes at all. However, multiple states being affected by multiple storms. A little bit on Ohio, a little bit on the mid-Atlantic coast. There was one storm system that went through Oklahoma and Texas. Another one went through Mississippi and Alabama. And as a result, we have this paintballing of the entire area from Oklahoma down to the Florida Panhandle. Over 400 storm reports, some rather large hail. We got some Mattis clouds here in Oklahoma, which, if you know me, that's my favorite type of cloud, and not because I'm a guy, but that's beside the point. Anyways, we're going to have another round of storms for the central United States and Plains area, possible on Thursday and Friday this upcoming week. So we're going to want to keep an eye on that. In terms of tropical weather, nothing too crazy, but we're beginning to see some potential odds for the northern hemisphere, generally in the western Pacific, as it normally is around this time of year. But remember, as soon as that northern hemisphere starts lighting up as a potential, that means that we in the United States need to consider that hurricane season is at least beginning to approach us. So definitely something we want to keep an eye on there. For Columbus, we're looking at 55 and rain tomorrow. That is Sunday. We're going to be 65 on Monday, 60 Tuesday and Wednesday, and we're going to be in the mid-60 to close the week and the weekend. Really not much of a big rain chance most of the week aside from tomorrow. The next decent rain chance is going to be on Saturday. Potentially a couple other days here and there as well. As for Norman, it's going to be 80 and sunny on Sunday, by far the nicest day of the week. I encourage you guys to get outside and get some time in the sun then, because the next best day is going to be Monday, and that's going to be in the mid-60s and pretty much like mostly cloudy. So that's going to be gross weather. It's going to get even more gross later in the week. Low 60s for the high. Tuesday afternoon into Wednesday, we could see some rain, more rain Thursday and Friday, potentially Saturday morning as well. We could be into the mid-60s, however, by next weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Perhaps an outside chance of hitting 70 by the time we get to next Sunday, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves at this point. In terms of U.S. news, nothing too wild. Baylor won March Madness. The Masters tournament is ongoing. I don't have a slide for this, but in case you didn't know, Prince Philip died at age 99 after 73 years of marriage to Queen Elizabeth II, who is 94 years old. So a very old couple, a very long-lasting couple. And so, of course, as always, for all the faithful departed, we pray for the repose of their souls. Let's get into COVID-19. And again, I don't have an international or U.S. news section this week, so this is the last section, COVID-19 update 77 overall. Speaking of 77, there are 76 daily new cases per capita in Michigan. I realize that that's not 77, but it's close, so there you go. So that's how that's going. Again, Michigan and the Northeast generally are the areas that aren't doing too hot with this whole pandemic thing at this point in time. But in terms of daily new deaths, Oklahoma leads the way. This is most likely a lagging in reporting of deaths. 6.2 deaths per capita in Oklahoma is simply not what is currently happening. It's definitely just a lag in reporting. Probably a similar thing occurring in Montana as well, although they're much less severe in their lagging of reporting than Oklahoma is. If we take a look at current hospitalizations, Michigan also leads the way there with 36 people per capita in the hospital, which if you heard that like a year ago, or I guess a year and a month ago, you would be like, what in the world is this pandemic? But yeah, wow. And again, the Northeast also not doing too hot with that. But the Northeast is doing very well in terms of daily vaccinations, especially if we take a look at our friend New Hampshire there. Over 1,700 new vaccinations per capita in the past day. So that is really big news there. Wyoming pulling up the back of the pack in terms of new vaccinations, but nothing too crazy there. In terms of variants, the UK variant is now in all 50 states. Oklahoma has finally reported a case as we near 20,000 cases of the variant in the United States. Over 7,000 of those have come in the past week. There were around 6,000 added last week. So we're definitely increasing rapidly in terms of the UK variant. Also increasing rapidly is the Brazilian variant, which has doubled twice in the past 2 weeks. It doubled once last week from around 100 to around 200. It doubled again this week to over 430 cases to become the second most common variant in the United States, beating out the South African variant, which we'll talk about next. It's in 28 total states. That South African variant is in 36 states, so more states, a little bit less cases, but still 100 new cases in this past week. That's around a 33% increase in this past week, i.e. it was around 300 and now it's at 400. So that is about a 33% increase in this past week. So absolutely wild in terms of these variants. It's a race between the variants and the vaccine is what everybody's saying. And this pretty much reflects that right here. Our projection in terms of infections remaining relatively constant. The vaccines and the variants right up against one another. I'm not sure how loud that was because I forgot I'm wearing the mic, so my hands may have just hit the mic and made that very loud. So I apologize, RIP headphone users, if I did do that. If not, I'm just talking randomly. Anyways, the number of people per 100 now at 47% for all the news. New Hampshire at 47%. Normally, our leader is New Mexico, which is now at 43%. Again, a huge increase there, but the number of daily vaccinations in New Hampshire has allowed them to overtake that number one slot. In terms of fully vaccinations, New Mexico continues to lead the way, but the Northeast doing very well as the Dakotas. Utah and Georgia are heading up the back of the pack. But if you compare that to some of the other countries throughout the world, Utah and Georgia are actually doing very, very well. So the U.S. as a whole doing very well. Vaccinations across the board, over 60% of those over age 65 are fully vaccinated in the United States, and over 25% of the adults in the United States are fully vaccinated. So real good numbers coming out of our vaccinations in the United States as we approach 75 million people having been fully vaccinated. We also decreased a little bit in terms of the number of vaccines that have been administered compared to the number distributed by the federal government, decreased by about 0.5% in this past week. I mean, that just is what it is. That's nothing too wild, honestly speaking. We're nearing 25 million closed cases in the United States as we near 24.5 million recoveries and over 500,000 deaths here in the United States. We decreased around 40,000 cases in this past week. That's a relatively small decrease. We've been going around 100,000. We really need to, I mean, it's really borderline if we hit another wave here soon or not. California's been remaining relatively constant. New York took a decently sized hit this past week, which is good news. So did Florida and several other states as well. Alabama went from number 9, is now off the top 10, but Michigan has joined the top 10 at the number 8 slot, which is big news. As we said, Michigan being affected by that variant, by the UK variant, and getting hit hard by it. Florida and somewhere else is also getting hit hard by the UK variant. I would try to think of it, but my brain cannot compute at this time of the night. Worldwide, we're nearing 3 million deaths, over nearing 110 million recoveries as well. Worldwide current cases increased around 1 million in this past week. It increased around 1 million last week as well. Brazil has finally begun to go back down after increasing the past several weeks, now around 1.25 million cases. India has continued to very rapidly increase. They were around 700,000 last week. I didn't even change the little marker at the end of India to say 1.11 million. I left it as the K, I guess, because I was tired or something. But went from 700,000 to 1.1 million within 1 week. So that's something else right there. Turkey was ranked number 10. Now they're at 7. The UK fell from number 9 to number 11 as Iran joined the list. And so we do see that between Iran and India, we really aren't doing too well in that area of the world, and even Eastern Europe as well. But hopefully the U.S. continues to improve as it has been, although its improvement was slight this past week. In France, their number of active cases is crazy. So anyways, that's all I have this week. Once again, happy Easter. I'm not sure if I'll say happy Easter every single rundown within the season of Easter, but we're still within the octave, so happy Easter. I'll see you guys next time. I've been Chris Dixon. This has been the rundown on InfoWeather.